Hey folks, Chuck Holton here. It is Saturday, and I'm on, this is basically Main Street in Kyiv. It's Kreshchatyk Boulevard. You can see there's a ton of people out here. They've got the traffic blocked off, and that's because they've been emplacing all of these armored vehicles. There's a whole parade of Russian armored vehicles that are placed down Main Street as we're coming up on the 6-month anniversary of the war, and on the same day is Independence Day for Ukraine. I don't think Russia planned it that way. I think it just sort of worked out like that. But so as a part of their Independence Day celebrations, and as a reminder that in many ways Ukraine is actually winning this war, they have placed these armored vehicles all the way down Main Street and you can tell they're very popular. There's tons of people out here today, even though we actually just had a air raid warning that went off, and nobody even bothered to go anywhere or do anything about that. It's kind of like these air raid sirens go off at just sort of regular intervals whenever they whenever the government agencies responsible for that stuff detect that there are missiles being fired at Ukraine. But Ukraine's a big country, so the chances of them landing here are pretty low, and most people know that, and so people just sort of ignore the air raid sirens anymore. These are many of these vehicles came from the 40-mile convoy that you heard about at the beginning of the war, as Russia pushed in from the north out of Belarus across the exclusion zone through Chernobyl, and tried to encircle Kyiv and cut off this city. Obviously that was unsuccessful. That was the Russians' big play, was that they thought that this would take 3 days, they'd take the city, and this would now be Russian territory. That didn't happen. You see the sign up here on City Hall. It says Azovstal, free the Mariupol defenders. There are still a couple of thousand guys who are being held as prisoners of war by Russia, and obviously there's a very strong feeling about that here. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a scandal really that happened because of the Mariupol defenders. Let me explain what I mean by that. So the guys that were defending Mariupol, they were holed up in that Azovstal steel plant for a couple of months. They were holding off the Russian forces. They were tying up a lot of Russian infantry and armor and artillery as they were, they just continued to fight. They were hiding underground and fighting and fighting and fighting. And they planned to fight to the death. Those guys had no plans on surviving. They were going to stay there and just keep hurting the Russians as long as they could in order to, tie up that combat power so it couldn't be used elsewhere in the country. But at some point, the president of this country, Vladimir Zelensky, called them and essentially ordered them to surrender as their commander-in-chief, and said, look, you guys surrender, you've done a great job. I'm going to do everything I can to have the Red Cross and the United Nations intervene on your behalf, make sure that you're well treated, and get you guys out of there as soon as possible. And so on the command of their commander-in-chief, they did. About 2,000 guys surrendered from Azovstal, and they were taken to prisoner war camps in the occupied regions, and some, I think, even in Russia. Now, what's come out since then is that those guys have not been well treated whatsoever. Some of them are down to like 80 pounds from over 200 pounds at the beginning of the war. They've been systematically starved, they've been tortured, they've been beaten, they've been crammed into inhuman conditions, not given water to wash with. We've been doing a lot of reporting on that over the last few days. And so the families of these Mariupol defenders have been protesting, have been very angry with the government here and with Amnesty International, with the Red Cross, with the United Nations for not doing anything in their view to actually make a difference and help get these guys the relief that they need and get them released. So that has that means that the president's popularity has taken a hit. That means that there's been a lot more angst and anger than we've seen since the beginning of this war. That's kind of natural, I would say. When a war goes on for 6 months or longer, the people are going to start getting mad about things. And to his credit, I think Zelensky is doing the best he can. I don't think that he's been malevolent or even incompetent in this. It's just that he's made some very difficult decisions under wartime conditions, and some of those decisions haven't gone well. They haven't gone in his favor. So he's getting smacked pretty hard in the local press for those decisions now. But as you can see, people are out here on this Saturday. They are really enjoying the display of destroyed Russian armor. There's a whole lot of it down here. It just keeps going all the way down the street, probably for about a mile, and gives people a chance to see what the Russians are bringing to the fight, and how I think there's a morale boost for the Ukrainians. It's giving them an opportunity to see that this armor is not invincible, and that the Ukrainians are able to destroy it pretty handily. Much of this is probably has been destroyed with American-supplied javelins, switchblade, drones, artillery, you name it. I would be very interested to know how much of this was destroyed with American weaponry. So that's what we're doing today. I've got some live hits coming up here shortly in the next hour or so. Several live hits today and even more tomorrow. So keep watching. Thanks for watching the Hot Zone, and stay tuned. I'm Chuck Holton.